Welcome everybody to Astrology Unplugged. And it's sometimes astrology and it's sometimes lots of other things. But tonight it's astrology. The topic tonight is about this phrase that we use, some of the phrases that we humans use, which is called one day it's going to catch up with you. We're going to talk about what that means astrologically. We're going to do two things first. Do you realize 3 days from now, Astrology Unplugged will be 3 years old? And I did a chart. I did a solar return for the next year, August 18th to next August 18th, and it's very good. Look, we have very heavy ninth house, which is really good for a show like this. Leo, 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 Mars. So it shows that the show will be very comfortable, outreaching, talking to people. And it took me a couple of years to really relax. It's not easy to do a show if you ever moderated one. I like the chart. It's got strong Saturn, Pluto. It's got Scorpio rising, making Mars and Virgo the ruler of the chart. And I like that because that means it's not just entertainment, but Mars and Virgo teaching technique, teaching how to do it. Okay, we have several grand trines here. The Jupiter, Moon, Mercury is very nice. I don't mind the Uranus at all, squaring Mercury or the Uranus trining the midheaven, or the Eris. I like this Eris trining the midheaven. That's all about the show being very much in support of the Me Too movement, etc. But I wanted to start out tonight from something I heard through the grapevine, because the doctor got a hold of me a little bit earlier before. What are you talking about, Eris, then? We have talked a lot about Eris. We're going to continue to talk a lot about it. Most astrologers aren't even up on it, and they'll come on board because Eris, these are very Erisian times. But I wanted to talk to the doctor, because the doctor, unlike the rest of the group here, the doctor has been tapping. She's been tapping.
Don't do it!
Don't. I want to hear about your tapping experience. We talked about tapping a couple weeks ago, where you tap certain parts of the nervous system and alleviate a lot of issues. Come on.
Well, I don't know about alleviate, but it is bringing it to the surface, and there is no getting out of it. My emotional problems.
I've never heard of the process of thinking about it's going to bring it to the surface. I thought you had some success with it.
I did. I'm not the same person. I don't act the same. I don't care if they don't like me. It's just a lot of things that have been released, and it was just almost immediate. I noticed it because the night after I did it, and then it took about a week, and then I did it some more.
I'm gonna send you a big bill.
Yeah.
I mean, in the thousands.
That's right. That's right.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you should be finding large issues, small issues, it's all the same.
Right. Oh, yes. It's all the same. And it all just, I don't have to figure it out. Don't have to go back and do anything. Just release it. It's safe to grow up.
All you people that haven't tried it, try it. If it's a little, what do they call it? Pet peeve. If it's a major issue, if it's a major hurt, try it. All you got to do is tap here and here and here and here, and then hold your wrist and say,
peace.
Peace. I did it last night. I had a hard time sleeping, and it really helped. Okay, we got no, you don't do the top of your head. No, there's all kind of tapping. They're all kind of, I'm advocating the Robert Smith on YouTube, called Fast EFT. EFT. His method, he's really excellent, and he's minimized the whole process. We used to be quite lengthy. She's minimized it to this point, either one of these, either one of these. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So, try it. If something's bugging you, try it. I release this. I'm tired of holding on to this. I release it. I don't want it anymore. I don't want the pain associated with it. Peace.
Yeah.
Do you
And the way he,
worry about doing it in order? There's no rules. You can go back up the side, down the other side. There aren't any rules. What you say. The old EFT was very rigid. Certain formulas, certain statements. No. Watch his videos. He'll tell you how to do it. Anyhow, let's get started. I was sitting here in the middle of the week, and as normal, I stick my antenna up above the clouds, and I say, somebody tell me what to talk about. And I just started getting this download about statements such as what goes around comes around, which I really despise that statement. I really despise what I hear people talk about karma. There's so much karma talk. And all karma talk I hear is about, I want someone to screw you over and let them do the work for me. And I'll be happy when they do it, but this way I don't have to own it. That's what I hear. I hate it. That's not what karma is. I'm not going to get into that. We got 10 definitions of karma. Tonight is about what goes around, not what goes around. It's going to catch up with you. One day it's going to catch up with you. I got a chart to show you tonight, and I'm going to talk about this person I read for, a professional woman yesterday. But let's talk a little bit about this. It's going to catch up with you. Everybody knows it's going to catch up with you. When you look at your friends, your brother, your sister, you know it's going to catch up with you. If you're drinking a lot, it's going to catch up with you. Spending all your money, it's going to catch up with you. That's not the issue. One of the main issues I'm trying to stress that I'm learning after 41 years is the planets are really positive things. First of all, remove all the talk about stars. Astrology is not about the stars. It's about the planets. Stars are involved a little bit, the sun, and some other stars in some other ways, but it's about the planets. The planets and the signs. Okay. If Pluto has hit you in the past, Pluto moves so slowly, it might hit you for 6 years in a row, leave you alone for 20, come back, boom, boom, boom. It's very unpredictable because it combines with other planets. What Pluto does when it comes by is it makes you feel, it should make you feel, like you want to do something more meaningful with yourself. Now, if Pluto comes by and you duck your head and you don't own your challenges and you don't pick up your courage, that's the number one thing about Pluto. You don't take a hold of your courage, which your courage is trying to tell you to do it, then you got trouble. But above all planets, maybe Saturn's next. People are scared about Pluto. It's going to kick my butt. It's going to do this. It's not going to do anything if you get with it. It's not going to do anything. I wrote an article years ago. Pluto will be your friend if you try. Really, really true. I'm not going to mention names. I got a close person to me who's been through a really rough time for a long time. And this person is reaching deep and getting the junk out. And everything's going right. Everything. And in the past, nothing went right. And I keep telling him, you don't have to solve it all today. You don't have to solve it all tomorrow. We're so blind to the fact that we're not solving anything anyway. We are so far removed from the proper mindset with God or with the Holy Spirit. And we got people here, they're heavily into the Course in Miracles. But people will bet their bottom dollar that they're still in charge. Well, that's going to take time. But anyhow, when Pluto's on you, and when it leaves, if it leaves and you have not progressed, you are going to kind of what they call a backslider. You're going to falter, you're going to de-evolve, and you're going to become more in pieces. And it can be very serious. You can go and it can just crack you up into pieces that can't be put together again. Most people, Pluto, they get through the Pluto time, they don't understand it. And that's the big problem with most of the world. They're going through these periods, they don't understand what they are because they don't have the words for it. Well, the astrologers do. That doesn't mean the astrologers are translating it right. But when Pluto's on you, one of the top things you do is you get rid of people who are not the best of friends or who are just going through the motions. You clean up your act. You want to get moving forward. Pluto is very underrated in terms of its purity. As I wrote in the book, Pluto is like having mass on white linen. Pluto relationships, they're sacred. Listen to some of the lyrics of Neil Young's song. They're sacred things. Joni Mitchell, the two big Scorpios. She's got the moon in Cancer and she whines too much. Neil doesn't whine as much. But he talks about, go ahead and laugh, Sus, it's the truth. It's the truth, she whines, oh, who left that long black hair in the bathtub drain? Remember that one? Oh, boy. That was one of her famous ones. She whined herself out of popularity, too. Anyhow, when these planets come is when you pick up the strength. When the planet comes is when it's emerging. Now, the problem is, if you don't notice it, if you misinterpret it, or worse, if you've been brought up in a family or have a past life history where you accessing that energy has some taboo about it. That's the problem. A normal person, these energies come up through us just like different colored shoots. A green shoot, a blue shoot, a yellow shoot. The blue one won't come out. The black one doesn't even get out. What's the problem? That's the astrologer's job. I see when the shoots are coming through. I see you sensing it. Now, the woman yesterday, I've known her 12 years. I've been reading for her for about 12 years. And she was reporting to me because she's a professional. She was about to take a new professional step. She was just a little uncertain. She's taking class from me. And she was a little uncertain. She felt it coming through. She just wanted somebody to kind of check mark and confirm it. And she was right on track. So she was on the right track. She sensed the energy coming through, which means it's time. I'm ready to do this. These aren't far out events. They're very natural readiness shoots. So if you miss it the first time, you're not going to be damned to hell. And the second time Pluto comes around or hits a different planet, you have another opportunity. And it's my experience, if you watch any of these planets, when they come the second time, the third time, the fourth time, you are much more ready each time because you're perfecting that channel that shoot is causing to open up. We're not going to just glue to one planet. Let's take a look at this lady's chart. I'm calling her sample one. Maybe I'll try my glasses. Yeah. Okay, so you can see in this chart, you've got a Sagittarian woman who's undergoing a perfect Chiron return. That's why the call was happening. The Chiron return was exact. She's in the field of education, which is very common for Sagittarians. She's got a lot of Scorpio in her because she's got the Venus on the angle, Jupiter in Scorpio. She's got the Pluto heavily involved in this opposition Pluto is at the base of this T-square over to Mercury and Capricorn. Okay, now the Saturn is not only problematic by being at the top of the chart, by being near the midheaven, by being square to the ascendant closely, and by being opposite Jupiter, her ruling planet, and square to the moon. You see all the things that Saturn's doing? But also, Saturn's a planet that saved her life. Okay. I knew her for years, and that moon was sitting over there. Okay, I'm going to digress a little bit into talking about the moon. Okay, I'm not going to give you a formula, because if some people have it, they're going to say, oh, I got this bad too, like she did. Some people have the moon on the descendant and they're fine. Some people don't. Our president ain't fine. He's got the moon in the bucket handle. Here's the bucket, here's the moon over there. Now, what happens when that moon is important, and I'm not going to get into telling you how the moon is strong, because I don't want people calling me saying, I got that, what's wrong with me? You know? When a moon is over accentuated, everything's about my needs, me. You ever see a president, everybody in the world has to tiptoe around, tiptoe around. I would like to know how many minutes per month he spends with his son. Minutes? Seconds? A couple hours? I would like to know. It's all about him. Well, when I originally met this woman, she was involved in a very bad codependent thing with a Scorpio type person. The person was not a Scorpio, it was Scorpio type. And I talk, 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 and I reason, and I reason, and I reason. I didn't know then to shut up, that you have a lunar person. I didn't realize it back then. I had a lunar person. And what a lunar person hears when you talk to them like that, you're trying to get me to sink, you're trying to get me to let go, and I'm going to drown. You're trying to tell me to let go, and I'm going to drown. All your words of education and all your rationality. And if you look at the lunar people in your life. People in your life that have strong Cancerian energy. Besides the fact that the United States is lunar, talk is going to get you nowhere, because they don't want you to talk. They want you to solve the problem for them. That's true. There are people with lunar excesses in their chart that do fine. And this woman's moon's in Aquarius. Doesn't matter what sign it's in. It's the moon, because it's right on that descendant. And this guy just drove her nuts. And they went round and round and round and round. They couldn't be together. They couldn't be apart. They couldn't be together. This went on for years. I finally let go, gave up, and I learned through other methods to give up. Because codependency, that's why nothing is working. And when she did give up, she got married to a great guy. She got a much better job. She became a lot healthier. And I found out through exploring her chart that the moon was in her 12th harmonic in her past life chart. She had all this ability and is great, way ahead of her time and all this, but she had the moon buried in the 12th house in Scorpio in the past life. And that means that all these things she did was fine and she was way ahead of her time, but nobody was allowed to have any emotions. Nobody. No emotion. Shh. Nobody got any feelings around here. Okay, that's just how she misinterpreted church dogma, which is very common. So in this lifetime, she puts the moon right on the descendant, but she wants to solve the problem. That's why this guy volunteered as a soul to play this role with her. That's why she had two parents that were useless in terms of supporting her emotionally. That's why she went through emotional hell. She came back to me after 12 years, and I knew it. You're ready to go, honey. You're ready to go. That's why you're here now. She was a little scared because she was ready. Because when you're ready means you got to let go. And letting go is scary, but she'll do okay. And she's on her way. She's going back to school to get a PhD. What did I see? Amazing. She is totally in sync with her chart. So that's what you want to see. You want to see, are these people feeling these energies or not, like artists do and poets do. Okay, look at Pluto on the cusp of the 6th house. In her lifetime, Pluto's gone from here to here. Almost everybody I know, when a planet goes over the 6th house cusp, you learn a new skill set. Most people. So there you go, Susan Avera. You're looking for my formulas. These are several formulas that work pretty much most of the time. When Pluto crosses there, yes. She's also got the Chiron return happening just before her 9th house cusp. She's going back to college to get a PhD. See, there's going back to college, 9th house. That's another one that's very common. Okay? But the story with her was she eventually worked through her 12th harmonic past life grip around her. And that's what all that moon stuff was about. It was about, if I let go, I'm going to drown. The Cancers come up with one thing. I know I'm going to be abandoned. That's the problem with Cancer. It's got a beautiful side to it too. But that's the problem in America. We're not real happy when the XYZ moves next door. Not next to me. What's that mean for my family? We're facing it now, aren't we? A president is telling 2 senators, don't accept these senators in your country. It's unheard of, this guy. But what it's doing is causing us to face it. And there are millions of people keeping their mouths shut. Scary stuff, but that's okay. So we see with her that the planets are causing, she's starting to own them. She's a little nervous, but before she called, she decided she was going to try a new job. She's going to try to go back to school. She was picking up these energies. She didn't realize it was the Chiron return was almost exact. And then after the Chiron returns in the sign of Aries, which the Chiron in Aries, the wound in Aries about what? The wound, the Chiron represents your wound, and the wound in a certain sign is always the reverse of the power of that sign. So her wound in Aries was not being recognized for being an individual. Well, if you have a past life where you're not allowed to feel anything, and you have 2 parents that aren't supporting you, you don't have much of a sense of self. So just like most Chiron returns at age 51, she had to learn to start supporting herself. I'm okay because I said so. I'm all right because I said so. Now, that's symbolic of the Chiron finishing the orbit. Okay? Very powerful stuff. Okay, she's going off to school. Now, that Saturn up there in Taurus, that bucket pattern, that's what held her together. For any sign that loses it, any sign that loses control, it's Sagittarius. They don't know what self-control is. Now, Susan's different because she has Saturn next to Venus. You didn't have that Saturn there, you'd be in a lot of trouble. Because they just don't understand what discipline is. They don't understand what self-limitation is. It's antithetical to the Sagittarian nature. Okay, going on to other planets that when we talk about one day it's going to get you, one day it's going to catch up with you. Saturn's a really good planet. You know people who are messing around with their life and they're not getting enough money and they're not building their future and it catches up with them. Okay, you got to wonder now, why is that happening? And they go through a Saturn time, and I was talking to a person here tonight going through a Saturn time before the show. And Saturn will always add responsibility to you. It'll always make you feel kind of creaky. It'll always make you feel kind of slow. But if you pick it up and you go job hunting and you start to take responsibility for your life, that part of you wants to come out. And that's why so many mothers come to me with a 16-year-old or a 22-year-old and they can't get the child to take on responsibility, and I tell them they got to wait till he or she's 27, and they come back at age 27, and the child's totally changing. And they want to take responsibility, and they want to grow up, and they want to get with it. They don't want to party anymore. They're starting to feel it. Now, other people I've seen, Saturn goes right by, I don't feel anything. Well, why is that? Is that because a past life to Saturn was too weak? Is that, they're not doing it intentionally. Is that because Edgar Casey said they've never been in Saturn before? They've never had a Saturn experience? What's the reason? Is that because they watched their parents be over-responsible and never gave them any attention, and they identify being responsible as being bad? Lots of things. This is where you want to read Arroyo. He's the one that can take something and turn it around till you see it. He gets past the normal archetypal meaning of the planet. But when Saturn comes by the second time, for instance, I got another person in my circle, 37 years old, alcoholic, just blowing everything. Saturn just kicked his butt. His family threw out the house, put him in a halfway house. He is drying up. He is doing well. He's going to class. His life is taking shape. Because most reason people fail is they look out. I see you with your Saturn and you're okay. I see you with your Saturn and you're okay. But I've never experienced it. So it's a terrible feeling. Well, I can't do what I see you doing. That's a horrible feeling. Most people who get readings want to go home and want to deal with their stuff. They want to learn about themselves and they want to get to work. They do. That's really shocked me. That surprised me. So the second time Saturn comes by, maybe you failed the first time. But the second time, it's coming with a load for you. It's coming to dump the dump truck. It's going to. And you can sense it. But you can't just be afraid of it. You can't just take the negative part of what astrology talks about. You got to pick up the positive too. You look at Uranus. I saw somebody a couple of days ago. Life got tore up, aneurysm, strokes during Uranus time. Going deaf, going blind. Uranus failures are because you're not allowing yourself to be. And I was thinking one day when I wrote an article, oh, America is really good. We're the land of the free. We're able to be ourselves. And I start thinking about BS. We're not good at all at it. Think of your friends, how they stifle themselves. Think of your family members. They're so worried about what somebody's going to say. We're non-Uranian because we're so Cancerian. I mean, we're getting better at it. But the more I think about it and explore, as I'm working on my second book, thinking about it, we are so uptight about what if someone thinks, what some group thinks. You know, the Woodstock thing is going on right now. I wanted to talk about that. The Woodstock thing started at 5 o'clock today. They're playing the soundtrack of the entire weekend with the stage announcements, everything. Just go on the web, you'll find it. It's tonight at 5 o'clock was Friday night, 1969. So the exact 4-night schedule on all the bands, Hendrix will be early Saturday morning. The great band Saturday. But think about that crowd. Think about a huge crowd. You know, we've all seen pictures of huge crowds. Think about one person in the middle of that crowd and how we let all these people around us dominate us. I say more and more to clients now, don't listen to anybody. Don't listen to anybody. Me, nobody. Preacher, nothing. Maybe you want to accept a little bit what he said, she said, keep a little bit what mom said. I mean, that makes sense. But go do your thing. No one's here to stop you, but people invent all these rules to stop themselves. Well, I can't do that now. I can't do that. I can't do that. Why? And that all comes down to trusting life. So when Uranus is on you, age 21, it's a heavy time, age 42 especially, are you being yourself? Are you being yourself? And when Uranus comes along, and I've told you all about somebody played jazz in your basement months before you know about it. I've talked to you about Mrs. Cleaver coming down the steps playing a saxophone as samples, weird sample examples of Uranus transits. You know, artists that start drawing puppy dogs with their brushes and turtles and like Susan is doing. It's very Uranian. She's making them very sparkly and they're alive and they're vibrant. That's Uranus. Uranus wants to come to life. We do so much MFing, you know, and that stands for mind effing, okay? We do so much mind effing. Oh, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Do it. But when Uranus comes by, it's usually you start to feel ready to be yourself. And I saw a woman the other day, I'm not going to mention who, but she started by talking about, I'm not going to let these people put me down anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore, but they've been putting me down. I'm not going to do it anymore. And it's all her. She's been doing it to herself all along. Now, maybe when she was little, but we have tend to project it out. They're welcome. Let's stop them from holding me down so I can't be myself. So that's what Uranus is about. And when it comes around, you usually feel it. And the people that are in trouble are the ones that Uranus comes around and they can't sense it, which means you have no opening to it. The chute can't get through and it will crack you. It will crack something, just like a dandelion going to the asphalt. It will crack through. Aneurysm, stroke, heart attack. And there's no it. It's you. You want through. You're tired of suppressing yourself. So that's what the Uranus thing's about. Mars is simple, similar, but Mars is more momentary. It's more, I want to go get this, I'll go get this. I need a loaf of bread, I'll go get the loaf of bread, bring it home. I need a woman, I'll take a club, go to the cave, beat her over the head, drag her back. That's what Mars is. Mars doesn't have any conscience. I needed a woman, I went and got one. Did you know that's where the phrase best man came from? In the old days, I guess, Sweden, Scotland. You took your best man when you wanted to go drag the woman you wanted from her tribe. You took your best man, which was the biggest, strongest guy, to help you go get her, fight everybody. It's changed a little bit now. All right. Jupiter, I don't need to talk much about Jupiter. I do have a note on Jupiter because Jupiter's a lot of trouble. Because everybody thinks Jupiter's a very dangerous planet. If you could wrap up the current president with one planet, it would not be deception from Neptune. It would not be overpowering you with Pluto. It would not be Uranian and off the wall. It's the salesman. It's the Jupiter bullshit. I can do it. Hey, what I need a Defense Department for? I'll fight them all myself. Jupiter can be very dangerous that way. It's a wonderful planet, but if you get out of sync with it and you think it's the end-all be-all, problems. So with Pluto, when it comes around, it's going to catch up with you someday. It's time to re-own your courage. Neptune comes around. What do you think that means? Neptune comes around, you miss the message. And this is the one that we Americans probably fail the most at because we're not trained with what Neptune is. We're trained with dogma is in the Bible and the gospel, that junk. instead of the real truth of what, I mean, Jesus was trying to teach us directly about Neptune. He told us exactly what Neptune is. It's not me, but it's him. He works through me. That's Neptune. But we get it all involved in the church, and my church is bigger than your church. And I watch these shows, and I want to stick a knife down my throat. Oh, it's such a church-going family and a God-fearing family. And it's driving me crazy. Okay, what's so good about it? I mean, they belong to a nice organization. They're helping each other make cookies. They're helping each other when they're sick. But they're lost in terms of finding their God self. Now, the ones who use church properly and are spiritual and they're using it to find a closer connection to God, I'm all for that. But most people are just clueless. I told you back on my radio show, 82, 83, 84, I would say, boy, great big spiritual turning point going on in your chart. And the person would always say, yeah, I go to church a lot, or I don't go to church enough. Yeah. I said, I don't want an attendance report. I'm talking about, are you having interfusion with the spirit inside you? Are you trusting the flow of life more? So we're getting better at it. We're all getting better at it. So that's what happens with Neptune. Neptune's a killer, boy. If it goes by and you're not in sync with it, ooh, Neptune can be tough. You just start getting out to lunch, believing stuff you shouldn't be believing, neglecting things, letting things fall apart, stop caring about stuff. But if you get with it, then I have a lot of clients I talk with. Neptune comes by and they're getting with it. Their intuition's getting stronger. They're getting more peaceful. They're meditating more. They're understanding the God part inside. The shift from the normal American to the shift of the God is within us is a big shift. And it's taken a lot to get past the blasphemy fears. You're being blasphemous. Well, we're getting past that because a whole lot of us are really realizing that the book ain't right the way it's written, that there's a lot of inner confusion inside the Old and New Testament. Just because it's in an old book doesn't mean it's right. Oh, the book is old. So what? So's dirt. But it's beautiful to watch, especially with Eris now. Ooh, is she kicking ass. She's shaking things up with Pluto. We are in Eris Pluto now, and that means if it ain't fair, we're not going to do it. If you're a billionaire, doesn't matter. We're going to take you down anyway. We're taking you down because you're not treating people fair. What's happening to the U.S. is two or threefold. One of the biggest things in the U.S. is Pluto warned us and warned us and warned us and warned us and warned us. Are we abusing our power? Yes. Are we using our power or abusing it? If you look at the map of Iran, there's about 150 military bases all around it. They're all American. All around the country of Iran. And we think it's normal. Oh, my son's in Okinawa. Oh, my son's in West Germany or in Germany. We think it's normal. We've stamped ourselves as police of the world. So the Pluto thing wants you to be a strong country. So like Linda is not here tonight. She said in the comments on Facebook that this applies to countries too. What have I been saying since 2005 about the Pluto transits in the American chart? The number one thing is we got to get straight with our fellow man on the planet. Have we gone to South America and treated these people like humans and helped them establish roads and businesses? No, we went in and stole their goodies. Have we gone to Africa and helped these people lift up and do solar housing? No, we've just gone in and stolen their diamonds and then their chemicals and their copper and all this. So that's what Pluto's doing. Pluto is so smart. Get this. Pluto is so smart, and the planets are so altruistic that it will destroy itself before it allows itself to continue soiled. Pluto will destroy itself before it allows itself to continue impurely. You can't bullshit this planet. I told you for years and years all this Neptune, what was going to happen with the GOP, and the Neptune return happened last March in the GOP's chart after 164 years. Neptune in the GOP chart went all around and returned. What did I tell you? You get with it spiritually, start helping people authentically instead of smoke and mirrors, or you just fall apart as a bankrupt spiritual entity. So they became bankrupt and all along marched this clown car. So they had nothing left. So had to hook onto the back of the clown car. And that's why you got what you got. You got McConnell going, no matter what the question is. Right? So that's what your planets are about. And you'll probably all look in your own charts, whether it's Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn. Those are the main four. I'm under Chiron tonight exactly. I got to think about that one. Well, you'll see. Some of you are probably a little bit weak with Pluto. Maybe you're strong with Saturn. Probably most of you are getting stronger with your Uranus. I'm able to be myself no matter what. You're probably getting stronger with your Saturns. So you go to the pawn shop less and less. Neptune, I'm sure you're all stronger with your Neptunes because you're here and you're talking every week about spiritual matters. So let's allow the YouTube to continue for the next 15 minutes and open up the phone here. But I think you get the idea here. I'm unable to read your chats. You people who have not listened to us before, this is about our third year. Every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, we're on live. If you want to join us anytime on Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, just go to Google and type in Astrology Unplugged. It will lead you there. And each episode is put on my webpage, my YouTube page. They're all there in order by different subjects. So I'm going to open up the phones here, or the microphones to anybody who's seated here or who has come through on a telephone. Yeah, Susan Nevea, what's on your mind?
You went by Jupiter pretty quick, and I don't fully understand.
Well, that. Jupiter, the reason why is not because it's devalued. When Jupiter comes by, you get very optimistic, and usually things land in your lap, and sometimes they're real, and sometimes they're not, and you really can't screw up except for, hey, can I borrow $50,000? I want to start this rodeo, you know? Yeah. That's the kind of thing Jupiter can do to you. But Jupiter is not one that you usually fail with. If you fail at all with Jupiter, it's because you're using blind optimism or you're being anti-Saturnian. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mars going by, you know, the worst you do with Mars is get aggressive or violent or too assertive. Mars is very healthy when it goes by to teach you proper assertion. But it's the big boys. It's the outer four planets that cause most of the shit. So I would say most of you, I bet you're including myself, we're probably all better with Uranus. We're probably all better with Neptune, where we can deal with Neptune stuff but not get lost. We're doing better with Saturn. And I think we're probably getting better with Pluto. Pluto's not easy to understand. What do you think, Erica?
Well, Pluto's been hanging out in my third and fourth house for quite a long time now, and I don't know. The Saturnian things that I had, where I had the dizziness and all of that, and that's just suddenly gone away. They couldn't find anything.
That's not Saturn, that's Neptune.
You said it was Neptune too, and I had every kind of test, and they couldn't find anything.
If it's Neptune, that means you have every kind of test, and they can't find out what it is. If it's Saturn, they find out what it is.
But I was dizzy
Saturn
as hell.
What degree is your nadir?
931.
Of what sign?
Of Capricorn.
Well, then that Neptune's doing something else in your chart.
Oh, this was last October when I ended up in the hospital and I was dizzy and I had vertigo and like one thing after another. That was several months ago.
It can be several different things, but it's a Neptune type of issue. What that means is when you're having trouble when Neptune's going by, it means almost always that you're having a spiritual crisis, which means that your spiritual side is saying do this and you're not listening to it. And people like you and me have the biggest issues being Taurus and Capricorn because we don't believe in spiritual stuff. We believe in what we can see, what's physical. But I'd have to look closely at your chart to see exactly what it was.
It was just a lot of challenging stuff. I was starting school and all this stuff. I was on this big high of, I'm doing all this stuff, and then wham, all of a sudden my body says, oh yeah, you think you are, huh?
Well, that can also be.
It caused me to question myself, and it caused me to say, I don't care. I'm doing this anyway. One way or the other, I'm going to get through it.
One of the things it can be self-sabotage. A lot of people start to do it, and then they start to get their foot into the water, and it scares the hell out of them, and then they start to sabotage it. Let's call up that chart and take a look here. This would be a good experience.
You mean like October of last year?
That's when Uranus entered Taurus. Uranus entered Taurus. Okay, it can make you dizzy. It can, but that's not usually its case. Let me jump to Erica.
I thought I was pretty flexible, but I guess not, boy.
Well, Uranus is tough on all Tauruses because it's just not their nature. Okay, here's the chart. Okay, let's take a look. And you're talking about last spring?
It was October.
Okay.
Last year, October, around like the 17th of October or something. I just had time.
I tell you what, folks, you better always watch out October after the 20th. More stuff happens after the 20th, 23rd, 24th. That is a dangerous part of the zodiac. Let's take a look like last year. Take a look. Because of the contrast between Libra and Scorpio is the reason that happens.
I kept thinking I had food poisoning or something,
Let's take a look. October 12th?
It was about like the 17th or something like that. I had 3 episodes in a row where I was dizzy for a little while, then dizzy and thought I had food poisoning, and then finally I ended up in the hospital the 3rd time, which was about 2.5 weeks after the first time. And then I've just been dizzy up until like last month.
All right, let's take a look. Pluto's still close to the nadir. The air is still going on, okay? Pluto's still close to the nadir, which is right here. Neptune's at 14. It's not hitting anything. It's probably one of your harmonics. Uranus, it's definitely Uranus setting its early vibes. Even though it's retrograde, it's gotten to 1 degree of Taurus, and it's backing up. It's definitely, it's the shock waves. It's the shock waves of Uranus entering your sign. Taurus is the exact opposite of Uranus.
I was really looking forward to it too.
Well, that's a very good point. You can look forward to it, but sometimes when that chute comes through, it's got to squeeze itself through and bump into stuff. And the Taurus mentality is based upon staidness, stable, anchored, all of that. That's what it's about. And here comes Uranus, which is the opposite, which is busted all up. So no matter how cool and slick and smart you are, when Uranus started its initial vibrations, it had been going on about 6 months before that, maybe 3 months. But when it starts sending us shock waves to the sign of Taurus, it's destabilizing. You no longer care as much about being stable. You don't care as much about the old traditions. You become more flexible. And another thing you have to look at is you got to look at what your natal Uranus is like to see how you deal with it every day. So let's take a look at that. It's definitely Uranus.
It's in the 9th house.
Let's take a look. All right, you have Uranus in Gemini, which is, we got to get it on your screen. You have Uranus in Gemini in the 9th house. It's at the midpoint between the moon and Mercury. Midpoint between the sun and Saturn, the moon and Mercury. Okay, I don't think it was in this chart. I think it was in one of your harmonics myself. But it's being 7 degrees away is about a year and a half for Uranus to get there. It'll get there in about a year, but its approach is very powerful. It's already, look where it is now, 6.5. Uranus is sitting at 6.5. It's within 1 degree now, and it's retrograding. So in about 6 months, it's going to hit that sun and oppose the Chiron and square the Saturn. So you can see that when that Uranus entered there, it not only sent its vibes to Taurus, it sent the square vibes to the Saturn. Okay? That would be your position in the world, your solid position in the world, at least what you thought. But Uranus starts to crack things because it wants to pump life into it. Let's quickly take a look at your harmonics and see what happened there. In the past life,
12th house.
okay, in the past life, Uranus, here you got the sun at 0 Cancer. Okay? So Uranus goes into Taurus. Look what it hit. Look. Uranus was going over your Saturn in the 12th harmonic. That's your anchor, Saturn. So that's very clear to me that that's more involved than the actual natal chart. When your Saturn is hit in the past life chart, what it means is I got these rusty old chains around my ankles, and they have kept me down for lifetimes, and I really can't get anywhere. And all of a sudden, somebody comes and strikes a blow, and one of those links breaks. Oh, God! Even though you're in the dungeon and the link breaks, your whole damn future is changed with one blow. That's how Uranus works. One blow, suddenly. Well, now you know that if one link broke, you can break the other ones. Now your whole status quo has been blown up. You can't stay there anymore. That's what happened. At the subconscious level, and just like you said, even though it's exciting, it's almost debilitating because your pattern, people want safety. People want to know when they put their next foot down, it's going to hit on the ground, right? They like security. Everybody does. And all of a sudden you put your foot down and there's nothing there. That's what happened. And that energy is very powerful, Uranus. It's shocking. It's like electricity. I just had a woman friend get back from the Dead Sea Scrolls in Israel. She had an out-of-body experience with the lights and everything, because Uranus is very powerful energy. You don't want planets zero fixed. You don't want them early. You don't want to sit your chair by the doorway. Boom, the doorknob opens, it's your ear. You don't want to sit by the door. Let me open the door and see you for a while. You're coming, right? So that's what happened to you. And did you have any problems in your lower leg?
I'm still having problems in my lower leg.
Okay, that's because of Uranus.
I'm getting a lot of cramps, and
that's very Uranus.
Just in my left leg, no matter what I do, I get these really weird cramps.
Spasms.
Spasms.
Very common.
I can't get to relax or anything.
Okay, well, what that's about is the planet is a spasmodic energy. And secondly, you're just going to have to keep loosening up and loosening up more and more and more. Now, as time goes on, Uranus spends 7 years in the sign of Taurus. You'll get more and more used to it as it goes along, but it's still approaching your sun. So you got a lot of Uranus coming your way. Have you become better at being yourself?
Over time, yes, definitely.
I'm talking about the last year and a half.
I think I've become a little bit more knowledgeable about what it feels like not to feel steady on your feet. You know, I understand people who have, you know, more situations where they don't see well or they don't hear well, or
Erica, the question is, have you become better at being yourself?
I guess I've become more complicated because I've had a new experience, and I'm so glad that I came through it okay.
Well, don't put it in the past, because it's current and it's future. It's going to last quite a while, and I think that you are going to answer the question I just asked you very differently in about a year. I think you're going to start to see that you're becoming yourself more and more with more and more ease. That's what happens. And I pretty safely, I'm not a doctor, but I pretty safely can say that you're out of trouble, because if you would have been too blocked, you would have had the trouble by now.
Oh, yeah, they thought maybe I had a stroke or something.
Oh, yeah, that's very common. Stroke, aneurysms, Uranus cracks through. It's job to crack through. Now, we're going to end the show here, but I want you to think of one thing now. This has been very good. If there are staid things in your life, if there are stale things in your life that have grown too rigid, and you're keeping them alive just out of comfort, you're keeping them alive just out of tradition, they have to go. They have to go now. Okay? You don't have to throw them away, but you got to get in there with some oil and crack them up and loosen them up a little bit, because that's what Uranus is going to do, and that's what you're going to do, because it's your Uranus. And there's every reason to expect, like we're seeing with Susan, there's every reason to suspect that your life can become much better, much more exciting, and more yourself, and there's every reason to believe that you can return later on back to the Taurus self. Okay, but when you return to the Taurus self, she will be a freer self than she once was. Okay, one way you can learn about this, go into the past. You're not 20 anymore. Go into your past and go and look when Uranus hit things. When it hit this planet, when it hit this planet, when it hit this planet, then you'll see what type of energy you're in for. It's the planet that sends people off to college. You know, it's shocking. It's the planet of midlife crisis. It's the planet of the bucket list. Okay, good enough for tonight. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was really wonderful. I appreciate that.
Well, you are welcome. That's the fun part. Yes, Susan.
So I have Neptune square my sun, pretty much on the down to the degree.
Hold on one second. We're going to say goodbye to our YouTubers. We'll
Okay.
continue with the unpluggers. Goodbye and thank you for joining us.